Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Kitchen talk. Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Kitchen talk. Let's talk. Conversations that cool. Kitchen talk. Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Kitchen talk. Let's talk. Conversations that cool. Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? 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 Kitchen talk. Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Kitchen talk. Let's talk. Conversations that cool. Kitchen talk. Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Kitchen talk. Let's talk. Conversations that cool. Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Let's talk. What you wanna talk about?
Hey.
Hey.
How are you all?
All right.
Good tonight.
Good. I had to run our intro one more time. One of my other guests is having trouble getting in, so I'm like on the phone trying to talk to him. Don't you just love technology?
Yeah, Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah. It's so wonderful.
Only works when you don't need it.
Absolutely. So this is Kitchen Talk CTC.
Conversations that cook.
You got it, Marvin. You got it. So good to see you. I do realize you're a little under the weather.
Yeah. So we'll see how long I can stay hanging.
How long you can hang in there. I get it. I appreciate you. But I also want you to rest. Yes.
Yeah,
super excited for this conversation. For those who don't know, this is Elder LaNorris D. McFadden.
What up?
Yeah, that's him, affectionately known as Pastor Mac, around the globe.
I don't know about that.
Pastor Mac has been with us before, so he is a welcomed returning guest to Kitchen Talk. So happy to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. And then just a little brag moment. This is my pastor.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just that moment right there. Just that
what an honor.
And for me as well. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys know each other.
of course I've heard of him.
Okay.
Oh no. I hope that's good.
It's good. It's good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, y'all should probably exchange numbers or something. Just two really, really great guys. Dr. Scott is pastor of
Grace and Truth.
Thank you. Grace and Truth.
Okay, great.
We go back to GMP days.
Right.
Oh, everybody does. I mean, anybody that's worth knowing is that.
You done came through GMP. I'm telling you.
Everybody. I mean, you trace everybody who came through that.
866 Golden.
That's right. That's right. Oh my goodness, GMP. Yes. Definitely. So, a few weeks ago, a well-known gospel artist, he's still hanging in the studio. I don't know what he's doing. I can see y'all, but I can't enter. So what did he do? Marvin, what is that?
I don't know because he shouldn't be able to see us unless he's on YouTube.
No, he said I could see y'all, but I can't enter.
But what I'm saying is, woman,
Oh, are you on StreamYard?
Right. If he's
This is what happened when you own your own show.
yeah. If he logs into the link that you send, we can't see you until you let us in.
Right.
But I could see you all.
Right.
But I don't see him. He is not in the studio.
That means he's not in there. He's not in the studio.
He must be on the YouTube version or something.
Yeah.
That's what I'm about to say. StreamYard.
Yeah. So if he's on StreamYard, when he clicks on that link, it should take him straight to a page where he has to allow for a camera and microphone use, and then type in his name. And then
on YouTube. Why are you on YouTube? That's not the link I sent you. Okay.
Oh, it was, I think, to share with others, but he must have clicked it for himself.
Oh. To go to
yeah, I done been in the back office enough times to know I'm like, no, he on YouTube.
Right.
I remember one time we were doing a show, and I kept trying to figure out why is there an echo. I don't know if you remember that. And I'm like, why is that?
Oh, I remember because you was watching us on YouTube while you was in the studio.
I was watching on YouTube while I was on the show. So believe me, I know.
Yeah, sound like you're in the galaxy, Mars somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's old school radio stuff. You call into a radio station. People would call in trying to hear themselves on the radio.
On the radio.
Turn your radio down.
You got to turn it down. Okay, so while I try to walk him through that, hopefully he'll get it. So Dr. Owens is who I'm also invited to have this conversation. Oh, I didn't send you a YouTube link. I sent you. Okay, let me see. Let me do it one more time. Sorry, y'all.
All right. It's all good. Sometimes you have to walk us through it.
Yeah.
I was just talking to somebody the other day about, as a teacher, sometimes we can be objective centered when we need to be student centered. A lot of teachers, they objective. In other words, as long as I cover my objectives, I'm good. Student centered says, well, it's not just about my objectives. It's did you learn?
Did you learn? Right.
So I may have to cut some objectives out to ensure that you learn what I'm teaching.
Right. Yeah. To at least have a takeaway.
Yeah.
They may have 10 objectives. If they only got one, is that really success?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but now if we got 10 objectives and we only get one, now, Houston, we still got a problem.
We got a problem. But where?
I still got to get more than one. But
where's the problem?
Yeah, but it's a thing of making sure that they get it. So what you're doing is making sure that he gets it.
That he gets it. Yes.
Yeah. And sometimes in class, that means you have to be patient.
Slow down.
Yeah.
And I ain't talking about just the teacher.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the other students.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because everybody learns differently.
Yeah.
And how you navigate those different learning styles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Everybody got different learning styles. And one of the things we've been talking about is how oftentimes we look at the grace of God as just unmerited favor. Not understanding that it's an enabling ability. Right. And the grace of God is something that he gives to everyone. Outside of just saying salvation, you know what I mean? But so a lot of gifts that we look at and think is just a talent, but it's a grace.
Yeah.
That's an enabling ability. So Some of us are graced to deal with people and others aren't. Some of us are graced to learn stuff quickly.
Can you get out of our Bible study?
You were in our Bible study last night, Reverend. And that wasn't in the Bible study. That was I call them text message from heaven. Like they just dropped in.
Yeah.
I said, what? And now here you come tonight. The next
And here you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's so important because sometimes stuff comes easy to us. We got to remember that we're graced.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've learned is when God graces you, you have to be able to extend grace to others that don't have that gift.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Owens, I see that you're in, but your camera is off.
And I'm trying to. I thought my camera was on, but you know what? See, I'm old school, y'all. I'm real old school. I ain't got no kind of social media, and I thought my camera was on.
Now let's make sure he said old school and not old.
Yeah.
Both.
He said old school.
Yeah, okay.
I did say old school, but I am old also. and I allowed this thing to use my camera, but I guess my camera just does not want to work.
Oh my goodness.
What? I'm gonna go to a different computer. Now,
Okay.
unless y'all just don't mind me being Hollywood Square, huh? Go, yes, sir.
No. I need to see you.
No, Pastor. Okay, look down at the bottom of your screen.
Mm-hmm.
And does it say you see mute stop cam settings?
I do. I see all of that present.
Okay, is the camera? What does it say about the camera?
It says stop cam. That's what I thought. Camera should be on.
Okay, so click on your settings.
Settings clicked on.
Okay.
Camera.
When you click on your settings, you should see camera, and you should see like camera, which camera you're using.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure one of those is selected.
Let's see if that works. Still nothing.
Okay.
Well, I do see something that says something that says mirror my camera.
No.
Okay, I tell you what. Let me try this one more time, and I'm gonna y'all carry on the conversation. I'll jump in.
Do you have anything covering your camera?
No.
Okay.
No. But I do not see the camera light on while I'm here.
Yeah.
So let me.
Maybe you got a lens. Do you have an automatic lens cover that you have to undo?
No, I don't know. No, I don't have any of that stuff.
Okay.
No, I do not. So let me retry this again. I'm gonna go back to your email.
Okay.
And we're gonna try it one more again.
Okay.
And if that don't work, y'all just gonna have the Hollywood Squares version of it. All right, then. Let me try it one more time. All right, then.
Okay. I tell you, I love the kitchen.
Right.
I love the kitchen. So let's dig into this topic a little bit. So a few weeks ago, a well-known gospel artist and pastor was on the Breakfast Club, and this whole blast went out and said, because he said church is whack. So that just took over. So it was Ty Tribbett, somebody that we all listen to. I don't know if I've ever heard him preach, but I do enjoy his music. He has a church in Orlando now, and interesting enough, I did get a chance to meet him when the tour that he was doing with Kirk Franklin and the Clark sisters came to Jacksonville. So we were in talks with his manager, and we got some tickets and were able to go backstage and meet him. Really cool guy, very laid back. But as you listen to the interview, because I went back and listened to the interview, y'all know how we take them little sound bites, right?
Yeah.
And that's just like, oh, here go the gospel, the preacher, the da 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 da, talking about church is whack, and it just started this whole uproar.
Mm-hmm.
So I will admit that I was a little not by this much. I don't never do it on social media because that just ain't my thing. But my first, what? There you go. What you say?
I had to go to a different computer for whatever reason. My other computer was not working.
Hallelujah.
Hey, y'all, this is more than a notion. This is more than a notion. Let me tell you right now. Oh my goodness.
So everybody, this is Dr. Owens. He is oh my God, let me try to see if I can run down your list.
Oh my, go ahead. Do your best.
So attorney.
While I catch my breath.
Right. Attorney, pastor, religion professor, and department chair at FAMU for the Visual Arts, Humanities, and Theater Department. Did I get them all?
That's it. That's it.
And again, the connection is GMP.
These some Greater Mount Pleasant folk right here.
Not
Yes.
me. I went. He tried to hire me to play years ago, but I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't make it there.
Yeah. Me and my wife got married at Greater Mount Pleasant.
Okay,
Wow.
all right. Yeah, I was and I'm showing you how far back I go. I was the first person baptized in Greater Mount Pleasant's pool.
Oh wow.
I was the very first person and so y'all see me dating myself.
Yeah.
I am an AME minister now, but I was the first person to be baptized in Mount Pleasant's pool.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we had just finished the church right there on Golden and Woodward, and so I was the first person baptized in that pool.
Wow.
Was it Pastor
way
Jackson?
back then. Theophilus T. Jackson, that's right.
Yes.
Theophilus T. Jackson, yeah. Yep.
Wow.
And my great grandmother, although some folks might dispute this, but my great grandmother, Cora Barber, was the first person funeralized at Greater Mount Pleasant.
Oh wow.
So it was long time ago.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
I thought I had told you that. Well, yeah. And my mama didn't tell you any of this stuff, huh?
She did not.
All right. Okay. All right.
Wow. So I thought this would be a really good combination. Being that I took Intro to Religion from Dr. Owens, and he used to crack me up.
Don't be telling my secrets now, Lisa.
You know I got to tell some of them.
Oh man.
But it was so interesting. The class was, I mean, when you rooted and grounded in what you rooted and grounded with, not too many things shake you, but it is interesting just to hear the history of religion, to hear different things about different religions. Like Dr. Owens told us that his religion is football. I would never ever forget that. You come together, it's communal, you have food.
Communion. You have all that stuff. Yes, you do. And you pray a lot.
I would never ever forget that. But his class and his teachings was so very interesting, and I really appreciated it because, well, anyway, we just got through talking about the teacher part. So I thought this would be really, really good to bring another layer to what the discussion would be. So what I was about to say was to hear a gospel artist, a pastor say church is whack. I am not going to tell you a story. It did bother me about this much. And my biggest thing was I think so much as what he used the word church. So when I think about the word church, I think about what Christ died for.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for you to say that, you're saying what Christ died for, in my mind, is Wack.
Mm.
And so you got to clean, you got to clarify, you got to clean it, you got to do something.
Mhm.
But then, so just hearing that part, how are you guys feeling about that? I did send you guys a video, but just hearing somebody that is a part of the fold, a part of ministry, a part of religion, a part of the church, say church is Wack. What is like your first visceral response to that?
Okay, and I'll jump right on in there because I did listen to the I saw the YouTube video today, and I heard him say church is Whack, but and we had a brief conversation about this in your office, Lisa, in terms of what he was saying, and at that time I had not yet seen the interview with Shyamalan the God, but what I got from it was that he's referring to not so much as
Don't dig right there. Don't dig right there just yet.
okay.
Just the church is Wack. How do you feel about the statement?
Okay, well, I'm gonna say now. You know, I've said some worse things in my class, and to a certain extent, church is Whack.
Mm.
And I speak as a professor. I speak as a pastor. But some things we do in church is Whack. You may not like the language of Whackness, but it was a cogent critique of some of the things we do in our denominational churches. Like, okay, staying in church for 5-6 hours. I mean, I know but come on now. You come at 11 o'clock, sir. They want you back at 3 o'clock. And you just get out at 2 o'clock. That's Whack. Now, again, I know the language may be harsh, but it's a critique of our denominational churches. So I'm gonna stop right there. Let's jump in. Okay. All right.
Well, I the first thing I felt was or thought was I need to listen to the whole thing instead of just a clip before I jump into it, right? But you know, my thing is I feel like some of the things that we do as people may be Whack, but what Christ died for, what he birthed is never Whack. And so I think the thing is we confuse what Christ meant, died for, birth, and what we do. And so therefore we put what we do as if that's the way God wanted church to be. Or how, because we call it church, we call it worship service. And the thing is, are we really worshiping in some churches? You know what I mean? Are we really preaching the word in some churches? Or are we just doing great little sound bites? Talk about everything but the gospel of Christ or the gospel of the kingdom. So, you know, so for me, I did my best to withhold judgment until I listened to the whole thing. But and just look at it because I didn't want to take what he said out of context. But again, I just think a lot of times we confuse what we do with what Christ died for.
Yeah, so I I agree with both of these great pastors. I'm like Paul, less than the least of these to be in the Hollywood square tonight. But first I know Pastor Ty, so I do there is connection there, and to know him and some of the journey, it was a little bothered. I was a little bit bothered by that statement, that part. Again, putting it in context, which we'll dig into in a minute, but the church is whack. Yeah, that's tough to hear. That's a hard statement. Again, knowing him, knowing the journey. I think he mentioned it even in the interview that he's benefited from some of the whackness. You know, it has got him to this place. So what bothered me most was the platform. Yeah. I don't like that statement, you know, semantics, whatever, but I don't like that statement, but I didn't like the platform. Let's come here, like here amongst, you know, churchmen, leadership, you know, the people of God. We discuss, it's just like a family, you know, we can air our stuff. We can talk about our stuff amongst us. Yeah, that was messed up. That's whack, so and so and so amongst us. Yeah. But in light of evangelism, when you're afforded a platform like the Breakfast Club, that is, you know, highly secularized, the demographics and the people that are listening to that, you know, are people that need to be evangelized. And when you have that moment for evangelism and you make that statement, it gets hard. Yeah, it's thrown all out of whack. No pun intended. But I think what heightened that was the platform, you know, because again, if you look at some of Ty's stuff, Pastor Ty's stuff prior, he said it before. He said it at some church conventions and some church discussions and all. He said it before. But I think it resonated just because it was a broader audience, secular thing, Charlamagne, God, DJ. It was a big thing, and it was a moment. I think it stabbed us, you know, as kingdom citizens, because it's like, oh my God, this is a moment for a touchdown, and you just fumble the ball.
And Pastor Mac,
with that statement, I'm sorry, Pastor, with that statement again, like we'll dig into the rest, but with the statement.
But Pastor Mac, to your point too, I feel like that statement was more so trying to get people to understand that his church is not whack. I think, you know, me personally, I think that was just another play on how do we get more people online first, because he said they don't do service in person anymore, and it's online. So he's doing it as a marketing scheme to get more people to tune in to his service.
I didn't. Okay, Marvin. I didn't
really think about it like that.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. I did think, kind of like Pastor Mac too, saying, why you talking to them about us? Yeah. And so then it goes, oh yeah, because the preachers do this, and the preachers' kids, they all the worst, and you know, this whole thing. They're not gonna have an affection for the church the way we do, and be able to talk about it and maybe come to solution, or be like, oh yeah, that's how it is, but we getting better, whatever, however it goes. So,
but one thing that we need to consider, and all of us are in the church. We might be part of different denominations, but whenever we offer some kind of critique of the church, sometimes the people in the church don't want to hear the critique. I'm not saying this is what happened with Ty Tribb and anything like that, but I know, again, as a pastor, who tries to, you know, bring some of the same stuff I bring to my classroom, Lisa, in terms of opening people's minds up to what this Christianity really is. We have been so invested in a certain way of thinking about Christianity, is that when somebody comes and say, "Hey, look, okay, why do we do it like this?" So to a certain extent, and again, I'm not excusing what Ty Tribb said in terms of that platform, Pastor Mac, but sometimes you just get so tired and frustrated. With dealing with church folk.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we dig a little deeper, and you actually watched it, when I actually watched it, what he actually said was the systems of church are whack. He didn't just
Mhm.
come out and say the church is whack.
Mhm.
But the soundbite that they took from that was
Right.
the church is whack.
Yeah.
So I think too, there should have been or some type of statement made about who has created these systems. These are some of these systems are not God's systems.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So when you
Right.
say to me, when you say the church is whack, you don't need to be talking about the church. You need to be talking about the people that's making up the rules and the regulations of religion and church.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess to me the word church is just so sacred that it shouldn't be messed with almost sometimes. I'm just,
No, I got
and again,
Yeah,
that could
yeah.
be just the tradition of being raised the way I was raised.
Yeah.
You don't touch that table.
Right.
Right. Right.
Right.
It's some things that are just sacred in that way. So if we're gonna tell the whole truth, let's say yes, the systems that men, women, humanity have sometimes put together are now whack, outdated, whatever you want to say.
Yeah. But you know what, woman of God? One of the things I used to pray and ask God, because I'm like, you look and there's a different church on every corner sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Methodists, you got CME, AME, you got full gospel Baptists, missionary Baptists, Southern Baptists, and you got all these different denominations and non-denomination, which is a denomination. Saying all that to say, it goes back to every church administration. How we run church is not for everybody. And if the way they run things there is not for you, but it may be for some other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know people who have church, and if they're in church for 2 hours, 3 hours only, they looking at you like, man,
we ain't had church.
we ain't have church.
Right.
And I ain't talking about I'm not talking about it's a few of them.
Yeah.
I'm talking about it's, you know what I mean? And the church stays full until the pastor finishes. And even I may be like, man, come on, man. I could be like that, but at the end of the day, I realize, you know what? Some people require this. Some people need that. Some people want that. And so I think at the end of the day, it's first thing we need to do is make sure is the gospel being preached. I think that's first and foremost when we talk about church, is the gospel being preached. Because they made a statement about you can't find God in a man-made temple, and the Bible doesn't say that. You know what I mean? It doesn't say that, but that's what he says. What the Bible says, it says, since the Lord of heaven and earth doesn't live in a man-made temple, it didn't say you can't find him there. It didn't say that he won't show up.
Right.
But so even that being spoken on the radio, and then he agreed with that and didn't correct that statement.
Right. He did not correct it.
He didn't correct that statement. So those are things that at the end of the day, when you're, like Pastor McMack said, when you're having conversations with people who are in the body that need to make changes, and we have that conversation amongst us, and then we go and say, hey, we got to do better.
Right.
But to have conversations with people who go to a building but are not really in God, and you affirm where they are, and you affirm how they feel, and make them feel like they're okay with where they are. That's where I'm like, okay, we have to do better.
Yeah. It's a in some ways, if you're not gonna do it, then just stick with the gospel artist stuff. If there's a way to separate that.
Well, yeah,
but don't dig into the church and pastor stuff if you're not gonna stand on it, tell the whole truth.
Oh, you're saying on the platform.
On the platform.
Yeah, I got you.
on the platform. We talking about the Grammy. Okay, yeah, you won the Grammy. Let's talk about the Grammy.
Yeah. But you know, if I could say this, woman of God, because what you said, I thought about that. You know how much whack stuff go on at the Grammys?
Yeah, that part.
You know how much whack stuff go on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Stellas, the Grammys.
But
The
I'm just
Stellas
saying,
is the gospel Grammys. And it's a bunch of whackness over there too.
and that's my whole point, Pastor Matt. Dr. Owens. My point is that you don't call any of that out. But you want to call out what you call the church.
Yeah.
But you don't call
in
out
that
an
moment.
arena.
In that moment.
In that moment. Yeah.
As he's addressed some of the other things, but not in that moment.
Not in that moment. Right.
You gotta go digging for that. When now is a moment to really, like Evangelist LaRae said, like if you're gonna go there, then it's almost like preaching a sermon. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're gonna address this part of the text, if we're gonna open this part of the text, you know what I'm saying, then we gotta close it. You know what I'm saying? And if we're not gonna stay committed to that, into that narrative, then maybe we should just back out of it. Just not do this part of this. So going in there, and of course, it's an interview, so he didn't know what was going to come up. You know, they're probing, they're questioning, they're doing all this. But if you're gonna go there, go all in.
Yeah.
Go all the way in. Let that be, the rest of the conversation.
Yeah.
And it's been a few weeks. I didn't get a chance to refresh myself on it today, but I did.
Yeah.
I do remember, the pieces of that. And then getting back to what you're talking about, like the systems of the church, are whack, just my flat statement. But it deals with motive, like you said, those people that created these systems. As you said, a lot of the stuff we do is traditional and it didn't come from God. There's no biblical foundation for it. It might have had a reason, it might have had a purpose in that season. It worked. God gives us intelligence. Like everything's not supposed to be hyper spiritual and shy for everything. Like some things he just gives us sense to do. But in a season, and many times we make that a principle that God created, and so it transcends from generation to generation until it's not relevant anymore. And it doesn't bring anybody closer to him. Right. And so then you got to pause and say, well, what was the motive? What's the motive of that? Like, what's the intent? You know what I'm saying? Like we judge the tree, by the fruit that it bears, but it started with a seed. Like, what's the seed? Like, what are we expecting from, some of these systems of the church? I forget some of the things that he mentioned, but some of the hierarchy, in the church and some of the financial systems of the church. And again, a lot of it boils down to motive. What's the motive?
Yeah.
If we build an Acts 2 kind of model of the church where it's a community of faith, and yes, there have to be leaders. There has to be a system, but I think it needs to be redefined from time to time, as I think about the ecclesia, and I'll hush in a minute, but the ecclesia, the coming together of like-minded believers, around a central purpose, which is Christ, to learn his ways, to learn of him, to be that example, to live together in community, and then God refers to it. There's several texts that refer to it as the body of Christ, right? And so the body has systems, like we have to have systems. But if something is wrong with one of the systems in your body, then it has to be addressed.
Yeah.
And you've got to go to a doctor or go to a hospital. There may be surgery. There's a change. There's something that comes so that system can work properly.
Yeah.
That's what how many do.
I'm gonna say, how many of us ignore, using that body analogy, how many of us ignore what's going on with our body until it's almost too late?
Yeah.
And again, and I really had no problem with the platform, quite frankly. I didn't. Because to me, not only secular people watch that show.
Sure.
lot of folks watch that particular venue with Charlamagne the God and so on and so forth. So what Ty Tribbett, what I got from it was that the idea, he's not the first person to say something is wrong with the church. Let's use that language as opposed to say the church is whack.
Okay.
I know that again, that word whack, it has a certain kind of connotation to it.
Mm-hmm.
But the church, and let me be more specific in what I'm talking about. The black church.
All right.
I'm talking about the black church.
Okay.
Right. And Lisa, you know, white folk got their thing going on. I don't know if they call it the church, but I don't know if it's really Christian or not. But okay, that's a different conversation.
Okay, well.
But the black church, it has its roots in trying to do something for black folk other than talking about dying and going to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
It was about freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we be free.
Mm-hmm.
That's
liberation.
And the black church has always been a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the black church, and this is just me talking,
Mm-hmm.
in an effort to emulate the white church, we have lost our way.
Oh my.
And we've created these systems that Pastor Mac was just talking about to make sure that the institution still survives. And I tell my wife all the time, the primary duty of an institution is to ensure its survival. It ain't about saving souls.
Wow.
It ain't about preaching Christ. It's about making sure we stay alive. So we're gonna ask for more money. we're gonna make sure the pastor's taking care. So in that regard, the black church is open to critique. And Ty Tribbett ain't the first person to offer this critique.
Sure.
Throughout the history of the black church, we have had lay people and pastors offer this critique of the black church.
Yeah.
Why are we so busy trying to reach middle class respectability as opposed to feeding the hungry?
Wow.
Mm.
Going to the prisons and doing the things that Christ called us to do.
Mm.
And all that stuff he was talking about, I don't know nothing about his dad. I don't know if his dad is messing around on his mom. I don't know.
Right.
But okay, he's coming from this perspective. Okay, I saw my dad, who was a pastor at some point.
Yeah.
He got to play the piano first, then he became a pastor.
Right.
And then my daddy did this thing with my mom. I ain't gonna say he's working on his daddy issues with all this stuff. But that may be a part of it too. He saw what his daddy did.
Yeah.
And that created a mindset for him to say, okay, the church is whack.
Yeah.
When you really talking about what your daddy did to your mama.
Yeah. Why in the church?
And we know it happens in the church.
Every Dr. Owen.
It happens in the church all the time.
Yeah. You know, and the very person who talked about that and called the church whack, it would also accuse of doing the same thing to their wife.
Exactly.
So so it's sometimes, and this is a shameless plug, Lisa. Sometimes we have to do an internal investigation. Sometimes we have to be willing to look within, deal with ourselves. Apostle Paul said, he judged himself. He treated himself harshly so that he himself won't be found a castaway.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that the first responsibility of the body of Christ, I'll say it like that, is to preach the gospel of Christ and the gospel that Christ preached, so that souls will be truly saved, not join your church, not so you can say you got 100 members, 1,000 members, 30,000 members, but that you can say souls are truly saved and saved for real. And I think that's our first responsibility. And then from that, I think it goes to those individuals not only giving their life to Christ, but now having a hunger to learn more about him so that they can go and tell someone else about their Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I think those are our first two responsibilities. You know, and I think, you know, oftentimes fail in those missions trying to accomplish other missions. And, you know, the question becomes, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? You know, how did we get there? I was just talking to someone about how I remember growing up, if you wore a hat inside, somebody's going to tell you, take that hat off.
Take that off, right.
But now we see it all the time, right? And not only just in the secular place, but we'll see men and women of God inside wearing a hat, right? When the Bible says a man that prays with his head covers dishonors the Lord. You know, so all I'm saying is somewhere that became normal. Where did you know? And it goes back to what we're saying is identifying where did it come from and why did that continue on. I remember the story where the lady used to cut her ham, and then she was teaching her daughter how to cook a ham, and she was cutting it, and so the daughter finally asked her, "Mom, why you cut the ham?" She was like, "I don't know. I just always saw my mama do it." He asked her, "Mama, why you cut the ham?" She said, "I don't know. I just always saw my mama do it." So she finally called and said, "Why you cut the ham?" She said, "I don't know why y'all cut it, but my pan wasn't big enough." So they made something that she was doing out of necessity, you know, because they made it traditional.
They made it a system.
A law. And you're wrong if you don't do it that way.
Right.
Even though I can't tell you why we do it.
But you're wrong if you don't do it.
Right.
So to his credit in the interview, so he was taking us through his kind of life a little bit, but he was also saying that these are the things that shaped him. And so it's really when you've been in the church your whole life, it's really hard to see what the world is like without it, without the church.
And when you've been shaped by it, and a lot of your hurt and trauma has come from it, you know, you know.
And so hold on. We see it as the church. I know. We see it as the church, and we never really look at it as we're all imperfect people in the church. But we just automatically see it as the church, and I'm not supposed to be hurt here.
I'm rubbing my head now. You know, so that's what old folk do. Old folk doing it when they start thinking hard. They start rubbing their head. And you know, if I had a bald spot, that's what I'd be scratching right about now. But I'm actually up here in Atlanta. I'm at a conference. It's an AME Scholars Conference, and I'm actually presenting at the conference tomorrow. And let me just run this by y'all in terms of we talking about church. And let me clearly define how I'm thinking about church. And this might, because what I think Ty Tribbett was doing was actually talking about some of the denominational churches that we all attend. Pastor Scott was talking about the Methodist, AME, CME, Baptist, Free Will Baptist, non-denomination, which are denominations anyway. But what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow is that the church is more expansive than our denominational churches. Hear me out on this, because we are all a part of a community that has shaped us. And that community was just not inside our church buildings. Because we always say, if you got to wait to come to church to have God, you ain't had no church. You bring the church with you. So a part of that is knowing that the church is much bigger than our denominations. We can find a church in the barber shop. Whether we go to the barber shop, we can have a low down, dirty conversation about all things holy and unholy. And in the beauty shop too, Lisa. All things holy and unholy. All over the community. We talk about things that affect us spiritually, mentally. That's the church. So when I go to my little denominational church in Quincy, Florida, I know I'm going to a building. And that building is where people of like-minded ideas come together to worship the holy God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But holy God ain't just in church. The holy God is there, yes, but ain't the only place holy God is.
No.
Right.
No.
And what I was hearing Ty Tribbett was saying was that, okay, yeah, we got all these issues in these churches, lowercase t.
Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, Lisa, yeah, because we're all human beings. Ain't none of us perfect.
Right.
So the minute we walk in, as we would preach, so I know it's messed up because I'm here.
Hey.
Yes, sir. Amen.
Right.
So what it boils down to, again, I keep coming back. We do need to have a good critique of what is going on inside our buildings. What is you messing over somebody? You talking about somebody? And you a male pastor trying to sleep with every woman in the church? Are you a woman and you think you're gonna get close to God because you sleep with the pastor? Okay, that's messed up. That's whack.
Whack.
That's sure enough whack.
Yeah.
That's to what Ty Tribbett. And again, I ain't trying to work out his issues with him and his dad and all the other stuff, but we do need to be able to offer a critique of our places of worship. And from my perspective, it begins with people who are inside these buildings who see what's going on and say, look, we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
Maybe not resolve it right now.
Yeah.
Right.
But we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right.
And stop sweeping stuff under the rug.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Or in my denomination, am I the only AME on here? Only Methodist on here?
I'm halfway.
I got roots in.
Okay. So in my denomination, we get a problem. We move to another church.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not just.
Right.
But so what I'm saying, okay,
Sure.
if we don't address it,
Yeah.
we don't have these problems.
Yeah.
And have people like Charlemagne the God and everybody else say, oh yeah, that's why I don't go to church.
That's why I don't go.
Right. They validated.
But you know what though?
Yeah.
And the thing is with that too though is how many jobs are whack?
Amen.
And you still go to your job.
We have to go to work.
But you get paid to go there.
Because what happens is
Right.
We don't
what
pay.
happens is people don't value the unseen.
True.
They don't look at the man or woman of God that's preaching the gospel as sowing spiritual things into them.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying every person that stands in the pulpit is sowing spiritual things, but what I'm saying is that's what's supposed to be done. And you have to be able to value the unseen. And most times we're coming for something other than the unseen. And we don't give it credit when we start seeing the fruit manifest in our life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so again, so there's a lot of things in ministry that we have to talk about and deal with. But if we're dealing with it and it's making a difference in your life, don't just focus on the negative things that I do.
Right.
Right. Yeah, there's some good in it. Absolutely. I got to go back, Dr. Owens, to that whole the church is global, expansive, you know, more than our building in so many ways, because we've got to, so that integrates.
I see you scratching your head there.
As I scratch my head, it's starting to come in. It's here. It's starting to get in here too. That I might be a little more old school, right? But it integrates, you know, the sociology, you know, and all these other things. You know, we have to address cultural issues in church. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's got to be the place. And I think that goes back to, again, like I said, we're not trying to solve his issues, but that when that hurt comes from this place that I think is supposed to help me, you know what I'm saying? But the systems of that and the structure of it limit how it can help me. Back to what you're saying, we should be expansive. The church is to deal with all these areas of life, but most of this stuff that we're dealing with outside the four walls is taboo. inside the four walls.
Mhm.
So we can't deal with it. They're gonna
But
look at
why is it taboo though?
I don't know, because we won't talk about it. We won't free ourselves to
I
talk
don't
about
know.
what everybody is going through.
Well, I'll be honest with you.
Well,
I
most
talk
people.
about it.
I do.
I was gonna say, I mean, I talk about it too, but again, why is it we find it so outrageous to talk about the things that we say is out there in the so-called world?
Because the systems are whack.
That's another
Well,
thing called.
But hold on, that's not just the church, right? So
No,
that's at home.
that's at home.
What happened at home?
But
What
we're talking
happened
about
in
the church,
this house?
but we're talking about the church
Stay
right
in this
now.
house.
We talking about the church
But
right
I'm
now.
saying we take that to the church.
Yeah, because
we shut up in the
That
church.
taboo
you're
culture.
right,
Yeah, we
we
take that to the
because
church.
it's us coming to church.
It's
That
us
taboo
coming to
culture.
church.
We don't talk about that. Don't bring it up.
Well-
So he's not supposed to preach about it. So now we do things like what Lorraine does at our church, small groups where we can come talk about some of this practical stuff. Because if I preach on it, y'all looking at me crazy, like he ain't preached today.
Yeah.
But
right.
The pulpit has to redirect. You know what I'm saying? It's obligation. My obligation is vertical. Yes, call to the people, but my call to you, like we talked about it in Bible study last night, is for your eternal purpose. And so if we have to talk about some of this taboo stuff in church,
Talk about this Wack stuff.
Just be a little. What do you say?
Talk about this Wack stuff in church.
It's Wack stuff. We gotta talk about it.
Yeah,
we have to talk about it if we're going to grow, if we're going to get better. And then let me conclude with this. And I see Pastor Scott talking. You talk about being expansive. I say it like this in this little down to just level, data entry level analogy. The church is the fueling station, right? Everybody comes to the gas station with the same purpose, same intent. I need something. I need to be filled, but not so I can stay here. You know what I'm saying? But so that I can go out and reach whatever destination it is and whatever encounters I have along the way. And I think we've gotten to, everybody come here and fill up and sit here, and keep it all here. But we've got to come to this place, the church, the building, like you said, your little church in Quincy, our little church on the east side of Tallahassee. It's essential. We've got to come to this place, to this fueling station. But when we go from here, we've got to be free, to use what we've actually got in that space. And I think that's part of the whackness. Yeah. That, we're not getting what we need. And then when we do, we're not sharing it with anybody else to tell them how to get what they need.
Yeah. We talk about that you have to be ministry-minded students. You must come here to learn with the purpose of being able to share. And then also understanding that you're facing struggles in life that cause you to sometimes face and stare your salvation in the face. You're questioning things, and because you got struggles that are real in your flesh, that we must preach the gospel of Christ using today's situations and today's analogies so that they can see themselves and understand where they are and be able to find Christ and find strength to get through whatever that situation that they're in. And Pastor McFadden, you said something, and that is true, because a lot of times a lot of preachers, I ain't gonna say we, I'm gonna say a lot of preachers won't talk about certain things because the people in that ministry, part of that congregation, don't want you to talk about certain things.
Oh no!
And because they don't want you to, again, oftentimes, a lot of ministers find themselves preaching to the people what they want to hear, versus trying to find out what God wants him to say.
Right.
Not that one right there. That one right there. Not that one.
You know what?
That
No.
No.
I'm just gonna go on and say it.
Go on and say it, Doc.
It's not. It's for me. It's not so much the people are not willing to have these conversations. Sometimes we as pastors don't want to engage them in the conversation because we as pastors want to control their salvation.
Wow.
Let me explain what I'm talking about.
Yeah, dig into
That's
that.
what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Because some of the very same things that we're talking about right now that we say is out there in the world, and we don't want to bring it to the church because the people not ready for it yet. No, the people ready for it. What we are afraid of is that we expose them to it. They're gonna find out by their own kind of spiritual development. Okay, you ain't really been doing anything for me. All you've been doing is holding me back spiritually.
Right.
That's supposed to help me grow spiritually. Because you want to keep me right here in your little denominational church, and God has called me to something bigger.
Right.
But you don't want me to have anything bigger because you're so afraid that if I leave, I'm gonna take my money with me, which I will do.
Right.
So
Wow.
so there's another side to the coin about the people not being ready. Sometimes we as pastors, male
Wow.
or female,
Yeah.
we want to control what people think
Yeah.
because we are part of this system.
The institution.
We want to make sure that the institution continues to grow.
Yeah.
And if we
And so what does that do? What does that do? I tried to get a young person on here because all of us are of age.
I'm young, girl. I don't know what you're talking
Me
about.
too. I ain't
I'm young at heart anyway.
I'm a age.
Everybody on here full grown. Don't even try it.
All right.
So how do we take, because I'm sure it's young people that feel the same way as the statement without any reservation, they will say the statement.
Oh yeah.
How do we speak to it with them, and even maybe help them change the narrative of it without compromising what the church looks like? And I guess I'm saying, how do we reconcile in our minds what we know and believe and some traditions that are just truly embedded in us? I mean, some of it's really hard to get past, without losing the integrity of the gospel.
Now, I think truth. The truth will make you free. I think we got to be okay with defining things and calling it what it is. This is a tradition that we do for this purpose. You know, if you don't subscribe to that, I understand. This is why we do it. And here's my biblical proof for why we do it. Or I don't have biblical proof for this, but just as a cultural, as a people, this is what we do. Right. I think truth just on every level. Some of these systems you may not understand. Like some of this stuff was here before we were born, you know, but this is why we continue it, you know, or this is why we don't. Even with the older generations, you know, our church is evenly multi-generational.
Multi-generational, absolutely.
There's not a, you know, everybody is if it's 10, if there's 20, it's 10, it's 80. like you gotta, and so you gotta come across the board and deal with it, you know, because you have those generational vantage points too that are different. You know, certain generations did things because somebody told them to do it. And they just did it because they trusted authority. Versus you get a younger generation that wants an explanation. They need to know why. I will do what you're telling me to do, but I need to know why. And why do you do it? And what's your affinity and your affection to it? And I think, to your question, if we just continue to be truthful and honest, like we don't have it all together. We do this because of this and that because of that. And we don't do that because of this reason, versus a bunch of tradition and legalism that we can't explain. They won't buy into that.
Okay, y'all, this has been like, this is for real. And it feels like it needs to be a part 2 to it. I really do feel that.
These great minds here, but I thought I was coming for a light conversation. You showed up with heavyweight. I should have put on a coat.
See, now, Lisa, and I'm going to tell you, you know, because I was at the opening banquet this evening for this conference. Let me know, you know, I missed dessert to be here. And I just texted Marcia, and they had cheesecake for dessert.
Oh, Lord.
So does that mean
You
I
know,
have to bring you a cheesecake on Monday?
ain't nothing like some cheesecake and some black coffee for me for dessert. But this has been a great conversation that
Absolutely.
I'm glad to meet Pastor Mack and it's Marvin. I see you got Marvin Scott, but you Pastor Scott, Marvin?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So Pastor Mack and Pastor Scott and Pastor Lisa.
Uh-huh.
Never.
Yeah. She
Expansion.
She will not.
Because we been in our council chairs meeting sometimes, and she'll sneak a preach on us in a minute. But especially
do
when
it.
she's calling us to task.
She'll do it.
But it has been a great joy, and you're right, Lisa. This is a conversation that could go on and on and on.
Absolutely.
And let me just end with this on this last question you just asked in terms of the young people, because I'm teaching young people all the time.
Yeah.
All my classes are undergrad, and they're coming to take these religion courses because they want some kind of answers, and they're not getting the answers in our churches. And they tell me they're not getting the answers in the churches because when they have some deep, hard questions, what they say they're getting from our churches, just pray about it. And prayer is good. Prayer is great.
Yeah.
Prayer is wonderful. I just read your Bible.
Right.
But our young folk, and me and Marsha, we talk about it all the time. Our young folk now are facing things that we couldn't even dream of.
Right.
That's very
every generation has its issues, but this generation of kids who are growing up in this digital age, they are facing some things that we ain't even thought about.
Right.
And to your point, Pastor Mack, speaking the truth, but also listening with discernment.
Yeah.
We don't spend enough time listening to see what they're going through.
Yeah.
And I say we general, but if we just listen to and understand what these kids are going through. We got students on campus, and Marcia just walked back into the room, Lisa, but we have literally helped students who had to choose between going to class and eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's deep, wide, and tall.
And for me, because Lisa, I used to be assistant dean for student affairs in the College of Pharmacy. So, I dealt with students all the time, and from the standpoint of, I tried to make sure I understood where they were coming from, understand what they needed. But oftentimes I did not try to change who I was for them to look at me as if I'm one of them.
Right.
I wanted them to look at me as someone who they can come to in a position of authority that potentially can help them or give them some direction, right? Instead of wanting to be like, okay, one of their peers. And I know a lot of times younger generation, they'll talk and listen to their peers, but that's because they feel like no one's really listening to them in some situations. And sometimes to them, it just seems easier just to talk to somebody that's younger for whatever reason.
Right.
But, for me, it's not changing who I am, being real about what I say. I mean, what I say, so forth and so on. But at the end of the day, when they come to me, my goal is how do I help them in this situation? And many times, I'm not only just talking to them, I'm praying for them, I'm feeding them, just whatever is necessary to make sure that student can continue to go on. I'll say this, and I'll be done. I can remember having students who, pharmacy is a 6-year program. And I remember one year we had a student that was in their 5th year of the program, hadn't failed a course in the 5th year of their program, and they came to me and said, "Dr. Scott, I think I'm a quit. I want to do something else." I say, "Okay, you can do something else after you graduate." but I had that real conversation with them,
Right.
And from that point, they went ahead, shook it off, and we talked to them, did things to keep them motivated and so forth and so on, until they could get back into that right frame of mind and make sure they had their counselors or talk to them or whatever. But at the end of the day, you know, when that person graduated, they were able to look and say, man, I thank you. You know, I had a married couple. The husband came and said, man, I thank you for talking to me before my wife came to pharmacy school. Because if I didn't know that they were going to be studying like this and she wasn't going to be home and this, that, and the other, I would have been thinking X, Y, and Z. So it is being able to maintain your position, but being able to still have those conversations and be available.
Yeah.
Church.
I was just going to say.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about, because what I'm doing in my class and what Pastor Scott was just talking about, that's ministry.
That's
Kingdom.
No, it ain't inside of the church building, but
Yeah.
that's ministry that we're living in.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Kingdom building.
Absolutely. You guys are great. I appreciate you so much. I miss JT and France. Shout out to them. They've been we've been doing this kitchen talk about 8 years now. Woo! Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it's really great to have, and one of my goals is to have these conversations that provoke thoughts. So that we continue even beyond this platform to continue to have this discussion so that our church looks better, so that we can no longer, you know, make those statements about church being whack. Church is love. Church is God. Church is sacred. Don't be talking about the church.
We are church.
We are the church.
Yeah.
We're the church.
And sometimes
we ain't wet.
Yeah. Sometimes we again, what Christ created and what we do sometimes are two different things.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This has been really, really great. Thank you, Pastor Matt. Thank you, Dr. Owens. Thank you, Dr. Scott. I really appreciate you guys for joining us. I will be bothering you again for another discussion, just to let you know. So go ahead and look at your calendars. And throw me some dates so I can go ahead and put y'all down, especially that one over. Wait, which way I'm going? That one. Oh my God.
I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Talking about you. Talking about the one who say he ain't known all over the world, right? But
right.
Oh yeah, I know Ty.
Man. Don't do me like that, Scott.
Yeah, I know Ty. We sit down. We done had lunch before.
It's cool.
So this has been Kitchen Talk.
I need to connect. We do it off camera, but I need to connect with these brothers.
Absolutely.
I want to come sit in class.
Yes, definitely. So this has been Kitchen Talk. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you will never miss another show. If you're watching us on Facebook, hit the like button, but also make sure you turn on your notifications so you don't miss Kitchen Talk CTC, Dr. Scott.
Conversations that cook.
That's what they do. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. We are definitely going to continue this conversation at some point. I'm going to see if I can get somebody under 30 in here.
We hear you talking. Okay. All right. It's been a pleasure.
It has. Don't go nowhere, guys. Good night, all.
Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Let's talk. What you wanna talk about? Kitchen talk.